Hi, everybody. Scott Eblin coming to you virtually live once again from the beautiful Courtyard Marriott at Baltimore Washington International Airport. Another group coaching cohort starts tomorrow morning, and I'm up here early for that. I'm looking forward to it. The video book club this week is different in a couple of ways. One, it's a very different kind of book that I'm talking about this week than my normal books. And secondly, it is the first book that I'm talking about on the video book club, and actually the first book I've read on my brand new iPad. And the book, as you can see on the iPad, is Open by Andre Agassi, the tennis player that retired in 2006. Came up in the 80s and the 90s, back in the image is everything era for Andre Agassi. And by the time he retired at the US Open in 2006, was, I think, universally loved and admired by people that follow tennis. Now, why am I talking about Open on a leadership blog and my video book club segment for the Next Level blog? I think there's a lot of lessons for leaders in this book, actually. One is Agassi talks at great length about determining really what his purpose is, not just with tennis, but in life, and he struggled with that. Obviously, Andre Agassi, in the end, had a very privileged life, but he started out pretty hard scrabble in a family that was really struggling to make it, with a dad who drove him like crazy, and he talks a lot about that in the book. I've talked earlier in the Video Book Club segments about talent is overrated by Jeff Colvin, and it's all about 10,000 hours of practice. Well, Andre Agassi pretty much got that by the time he was 10 or 12 years old. His dad had him hitting 2,500 tennis balls a day with the goal of hitting 1,000,000 balls a year. And you can imagine that would kind of mess with your head a little bit. And I think it did mess with Andre Agassi's head. And he was working it out. And, when this book came out, Open, when it came out earlier this year, late last year, on sports radio, which I listen to, when I'm driving around and chugging through my email in the office, there was a lot of criticism of Agassi for admitting that he took crystal meth at one point, for admitting that he wore a hairpiece before he shaved his head. And I was really struck when I read the book how, frankly, what a small part of the book that is, and how people who glom onto those 2 points of the book kind of miss the larger point, that this is about a guy working hard to find the meaning of life, really, for him. And I think that's something that all leaders deal with. That's something that all people deal with. And I found the book very authentic, really interesting, and it really drew me in. And I got a lot out of it just from the insight into someone else's journey. And there were things I could relate to, certainly not the crystal meth part of the book, but there were things I could relate to, and just in terms of, kind of working it all out. So if you're somebody who's working on that yourself, as I think we all are at different points in our lives, in our journey as leaders, then I encourage you to take a look at Open, especially if you're a tennis fan and you watched Agassi play in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s when he came back for the big comeback run towards the end of his career. You'll really enjoy the book, because I remember a lot of the matches he talks about in the book at length, and that's fun to revisit that and to learn what he was thinking as he was working through the match or the matches. And so, again, it's a different kind of book for me this week on the Video Book Club, but one that I got a lot out of, and you might like it as well. So I encourage you to take a look, whether it's on an iPad or a traditional book, and I have to say I'm pretty much loving the iPad. So have a great week coming up. We'll talk to you next week on the Video Book Club. Keep reading the blog, please. Talk to you soon. Bye.